So our next one's translation. Okay, so let's have another automatic shape on there, which is there. Let's have, I don't know, let's have a box maybe. No, let's have the, or should we have the flag? We'll have a box. Okay, and we'll have it there. Okay. Right, now translation in the UK is done through vectors. And you're told a vector, so you may be told to translate this vector, translate this rectangle through the vector, and they'd say -3, -2, say. And they say translate it through that particular vector. You can put the vector -3, -2 onto autograph. But I'm aware that people in the US, you don't do that. You do it through just by moving. You don't mention vectors. Let me show you without mentioning vectors first. Okay. So the way we can do it, we want to move through that particular vector. I've got to highlight just one of these coordinates. So I'm just going to perhaps pick on the bottom corner. Or you could have any of them. So I'm going to pick on that particular one. And I'm going to stick a trace on it. So wherever it moves on that screen, it's going to trace out its path. So selected that point, I'm going to go to the object menu or right click, and we've got the option of trace point. So you just click trace point, and it doesn't do anything because you haven't moved it. Okay? You can then use your arrow keys on your keyboard or on here. Oops, and you don't do that. Put that back again. You need to select all your shape, then you move it, and you can move it along. So we're going to move it across 3 places, and we're going to move it down a couple of paces, and perhaps that wasn't the best place to move, but you get the idea. It's actually tracing out where that corner has been. Okay, so it's perhaps a rectangle wasn't the best shape to use. Okay.
Did you select all the points on the rectangle or just one?
Right, I selected one point to trace, but when I wanted to move the rectangle, I selected the whole thing by clicking in the middle of it. Okay, so I can move that around wherever I like, but the only one that's being traced is the bottom corner, which is the one I applied a trace to.
When you use the arrow keys, can you set it so that
it will jump in ones?
Yeah, it will go across.
Right, tell you what, we'll do another. We'll have the little flag, okay, and I'm going to select on 1. Okay, so I've just started up another page. I've opened up a flag again, and I've set the grid so it's snapping on 1s. Right, I'm going to pick on that bottom end of the flag. So that point there is highlighted. And I'm going to do something with that particular point. So I'm going to apply a trace to it, so wherever I move that flag to, it's going to move. So I'm going to right click and apply a trace. Nothing happens because I haven't moved the flag. Now if I move the arrow keys and just get it and move it around, because that one's the only one selected, that's the only point that's going to move. And I don't want that. I want to move the whole object. So I'm just going to deselect all the coordinates, and then I'm just going to select in the middle of the shape. And that gets all the coordinates. Now when I press all the arrows, it will move it around. And it will trace out that particular point for you. Okay? Is everyone happy with that now? That better?
Yeah.
Okay? You can apply a vector to it though as well. So we'll leave those traces on. We'll take all those traces off for the moment.
How did you do that? Just click them.
I literally selected it and then deleted it. Okay, so if you want to get rid of the traces, you select them so they go black and then just press delete and they'll go. Remember, that point is still going to trace because you haven't turned the trace off. It's still there. If you want to get rid of the trace off that point, you have to select it again, right click, and it has removed it. So there we are, remove trace. It had switched it off after all. Okay, so let's put a vector on. Let's try and get this thing moving by a vector. So where would you want your vector? It'd be nice to actually have it on that point, wouldn't it? If we just had it up randomly over here, that's almost got nothing to do with the problem. So I'm going to stick a vector from that point, perhaps across 2 and up 1. Right, so select that point. And this time, when we right click, we get the option of vector. So we select vector, and we're going to tell it to go across 2 and up 1. So I'm going to turn that into a 2, and click OK, and I get an across 2, up 1. So I'm going to move that flag along that vector to its new position. So I need to tell Autograph, use that vector and move the shape. So select the vector, select the shape, right click, translate. Okay, so you've got the vector on, tell it that it's that vector you want to move it along, it's that shape you want to move, right click, translation, and there it is. It's moved. Okay, so it's 2 ways of doing it. You can either put a trace on and just move it around using your arrows, or you can actually tell it which vector to use. Okay, happy with that?